Call the Borough Council regular meeting for February 19, 2025. We'll start with our call to order and roll call.
President Ferguson.
Here.
Vice President George.
Here.
Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Fagan.
Here.
Councilmember Cresser. Here. Mayor Gerard.
Here.
Junior Councilperson Nisbet. Borough Manager Snyder.
Here.
Borough Solicitor Harper.
Here.
All right, if we'll all stand and do our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I didn't get any volunteers to do an invocation. Would someone like to do our invocation tonight?
Sure, I'll do it.
All right.
Let us pray that we here gathered today may join together in decisions that are in the best interest of our community, that we hold each other and one another to high standards of excellence, and that way we may join in a vision that makes our community proud. Let us pray.
Amen. Thank you for that, Councilman Fagan.
Sure.
Pretty good on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you always gotta have one ready, just in case, just in case.
All right, thanks again for that.
Yep.
All right, we'll start with our agenda with item 1, approval of the meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for this February 19, 2025 regular meeting?
Second.
I get a motion from Councilman Burns, a second from Councilwoman Cresser. Any questions, changes, or amendments? If there are none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. All right, item 2, approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the January 15, 2025 workshop and regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
I get a motion from Councilman Gerard, a second from Councilwoman Cresser. Any questions, changes, or amendments? If there are none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. All right, item 3 is our public input. So if there's anyone from the public who would like to speak, we'd ask you to step up to the podium, make sure the microphone's on, tell us your name and address and the reason for addressing council. All right. Since no one's getting up, I'm going to assume that we don't have any. And we'll go on to item 4, announcements.
Next Borough Council meetings are the March 5th workshop meeting and the March 19th regular meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers. The next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 24th at 6 p.m. in council chambers. PROC is scheduled to meet Wednesday, February 26th at 8 a.m. in council chambers.
Okay. We're getting to it. We have the zoning announcement later.
Okay, yep. All right, are there any questions? If not, we'll go on to item 5, new business and discussion items. We'll start with item A, the rescheduled hearing on the 32 Roosevelt Avenue, the application of Anakari S. Carrion Viviano? Vicino? Vanco, excuse me. Sorry. I don't have my glasses on today, so it's making it worse. Will be heard on Wednesday, March 12, 2025 at 7 p.m. in council chambers.
Right. The reason that we have to announce it here, you might remember you sent me to oppose the application. This is the accessory dwelling, basically. The applicant didn't have a lawyer, didn't have any idea that what she wanted to do was actually illegal, and that's why she was there. Apparently, the previous owner of the property told her it was fine. Okay, so what happened is she needed a postponement so she could consult an attorney to see, what her chances were and whether she needed to hire somebody to come with her. If we had to re-advertise that hearing, that would have cost the borough and the applicant several $100s. So what zoning board agreed was to make sure that to continue it to a date certain and have it publicly announced. And since Borough Council was a party to the application and has tonight as a meeting, we decided that we would do it here. So that's basically why we're announcing it. The minutes should reflect that the date and everything was announced for this application to be reheard. If she wants to go forward with it or not, you know. So that's where we are on it, and that's why we're announcing it, because, you know, it's very expensive to for the legal advertising otherwise. And that would have been borne by the applicant. She was already having a bad night.
Okay. All right, so for those who are interested, March 12th. Any questions? All right, we'll go on to item B, the COR #1 utility replacement project test digs.
This is change order request number 1 for the utility replacement project on West Broad, North Main, and East Broad. This change order request is needed. We need to locate the precise depth of the gas main on East Broad. We've done some surveying. We had Pico come out, and every time someone comes out to do a PA1 call, it's marked in a different location. So we're not exactly sure where we can insert our storm sewer because we don't know where the gas main is. So it's best if we just have the contractor that's currently on site, do some test digs on East Broad, locate that, and then we can correctly install the storm sewer on East Broad when we get to there. It's an additional $6,230.70 added to the contract, but the overall contract price at the end of the contract is not going to increase because we've had significant savings thus far on curbing out on West Broad. We expect to have some more savings on a manhole at the intersection of Broad and Main with some changes. So yes, it looks like an additional cost, but it'll actually wash out in the end with the overall contract. We just feel like don't want to play a guessing game with the gas main on East Broad, and it's caused issues since day one. So we just want to be able to get out there, correctly identify where it's located, put that on paper, and be able to move forward. So that's what the change order request is for. It's on for an action item this evening.
And does that cost include Bursich's update of all the plans and
Yeah,
schematics? Okay.
Yeah, it'll be just that is for the contractor, but the way that they drew it out, they feel like they put it 2 places. One is right up against the curb line, adding 2 different inlets. One is a little bit out on top of the gas main. So both ways it's designed that way. So it wouldn't be any additional cost from Bursic.
Okay. Well, no, but I'm saying, will Bursich update the plans that they have
They
going
will.
forward so we know where it is in the future?
Yes, they will, but we won't be charged for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do want to note that it looks like they put a new contract cost on there. So I don't know if that, I mean, is that exact?
Right, so because you are adding $6,000 to the contract, essentially your contract goes up, but because we will be saving so much money, we're not paying that much in the end.
Okay.
So like, yeah, it's 6,000 is essentially added to your contract, so your contract,
I just
In
wanna note that
theory,
they
will go
put an
up.
Actual new contract cost, so.
right,
just As a note.
yeah, but at the end of, you won't pay that,
Okay.
you know, because
Fine.
we'll save money on curbing and things like that.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And what is there an estimated impact on the timeline for the project?
They're actually gonna look to do the test digs on Monday next week. And they're moving to North Main Street starting on Tuesday next week. So it will be done, it'll be designed, we'll know exactly where it is before they move to East Broad. They think they'll be on North Main for 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
So it will not impact the timeline for the
Okay.
project.
So they're going to do it at the same time. basically.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions? If there are none, we'll go to item C, payment request number 4 for the utility replacement project.
This is payment request number 4 for work completed through January 25th on West Broad Street. The remaining contract cost will be $2,122,269.22. This payment is $225,207.90. This is Hatfield Borough's full cost. We've moved on from the water portion of the project on West Broad, so everything moving forward will be Hatfield Borough. And it's on for consideration as an action item.
All right.
So we received all our monies from them?
Yes, we have. And actually, with payment number 3, which you approved at the last meeting, and this payment, once, if it is approved this evening, it'll go on letterhead and submitted to Chad at Versants, and we're gonna actually start applying for our grant reimbursements. So we had a meeting with him yesterday. We talked about this on Monday at the Utilities Committee meeting, where this is kind of a grant where we're hoping we can apply as we go for reimbursements instead of waiting till the very end, which is normally how grants work. So hopefully we'll be getting some money coming back in, that we can pay off the debt a lot quicker than we were kind of budgeting or expecting to.
Any other questions?
We have one more question in relation to that. If they find something else fine with this particular test state, what is the plan? Do they have a plan at this point for remedying that problem?
Where the gas main is?
Yes.
You mean like if we found that it was, somewhere where we didn't expect it to be? Like what would be the solution?
Fault line, whatever, to where they were expecting it to, I mean, is there some way that they've already determined where it is? Or it should be, I'm assuming they know.
Yes.
But if it's
Yeah.
damaged or anything like that.
Yeah, I think we'll just have to make field change adjustments, between Chad and the contractor and Steve. And then they'll just bring it back to me and we'll talk about it. So I don't know that there's a plan in per se. I think it'll be, depending on what they find, it'll be a field change adjustment and we'll have to work that into the contract.
And that's pretty typical, so. Any additional questions? If not, we'll go on to old business. Item A, resolution 2025-02, preliminary and final subdivision and land development for 23 North Main Street, Hatfield Walk. Also, I will invite anyone else from the community who would like to say anything else at this time. If you have any questions, any final questions or any final statements as well.
Yeah.
I would like to make a statement about this situation. While I understand the need for varied housing in our community, I cannot wholeheartedly support this particular project for a number of reasons. To begin with, the developers, in my estimation, have failed to present their plans to the zoning board in a thorough, honest, and transparent manner. This oversight is not just a procedural misstep, it's a fundamental breach of trust that we place in developers to work openly with our community. Perhaps most concerning to me is the apparent bait and switch regarding the nature of the housing. Our zoning board appears to have incorrectly assumed that these would be private residences contributing to home ownership in our community. Instead, we later learned from the developer that the plan is for rental properties, which could significantly alter the neighborhood's dynamics and long-term stability. Secondly, this project required an alarming number of variances from our established zoning regulations, which were granted. These numerous variances seem to have been approved without much regard for the fact that regulations actually exist to protect our community's character and ensure sustainable development. The sheer volume of variances requested and unfortunately approved suggests to me that this project is fundamentally incompatible with our town's vision and planning. In addition, despite the various traffic studies that were done and we were presented to justify this project, and knowing human nature's tendency to ignore rules when it is convenient, I still have many concerns about the possible safety issues that will be surrounding the entry and exit from this development. Despite much soul searching on my part, some personal research into zoning laws, and an earlier discussion with our solicitor, I am very reluctantly and regretfully going to vote to approve this development due to the high possibility of losing the legal battle to complete this project, which will surely drag through the courts while incurring unnecessary legal costs on our borough and our constituents. Thank you.
The applicant's here. Do you want to hear from him?
Yeah, I believe.
I mean, it's public comment time.
No, I hear you. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I see him in the audience.
So,
I see him in the audience, so.
I have a question also. Since these will be rental units, I presume they will be under the rental inspection program, will be subjected to the rental inspection program that we just established. correct?
Yeah, yes, they will. And the fire, let's think about fire safety, rental inspection for sure, yes.
Want to see if there's any public?
That's, I opened it up at the beginning, but I will ask again if anyone else from the public wants to speak on this matter.
You heard from us.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Anyone else from council?
Just like to establish for the record that the applicant is in the room and has seen the draft resolution. Is that true?
that is true.
Thank you. Put that in minutes. Just want to make sure there's no questions later about any
Right.
conditions, okay?
Thank you, Madam Solicitor. Hearing no other questions, I will close this discussion then. Having no other questions for our old business, we'll go on to our action items. We'll start with item A, motion to consider resolution 2025-02, granting preliminary and final subdivision and land development for 23 North Main Street, Hatfield Walk, with considerations. Or excuse me, conditions. Can I get a motion? This is a first.
Well, and part of Robert's Rules of Order, even if you make a motion to move it, doesn't mean you have to vote for it. Like you have to make a motion to get it to be a votable action. So if you made a motion, it doesn't mean you have to vote yes for it. It just puts it to a vote. If you don't make a motion, it never will go to a vote.
And
That
council
makes
president is allowed to make a motion.
Correct, yeah.
I was about to ask that question.
Right,
So-
you're allowed.
Okay.
Generally, you don't have to, but
Right.
You're allowed. Is that a good way to describe it? To get it
Yeah.
to vote, you have to make.
Absolutely.
yeah, the motion gets it up to a vote.
Right. So I'll make a motion to consider resolution 2025-02.
And I'll second that motion to get it to a vote.
Okay.
We have a motion from Council President Ferguson, a second from Councilman Burns. Any last questions? All in favor?
Aye.
I reluctantly.
Opposed?
Opposed?
All
Better
right.
do
Do we want to do a
roll call.
council? Yeah,
Better
let's do a
do
roll
roll
call.
call vote.
Yep.
Katie, do you want
It's
to call
okay.
roll?
President Ferguson,
I vote in favor. Aye.
Vice President Gerard,
I vote in favor reluctantly.
Councilmember Burns,
I vote opposed.
Councilmember Fagan,
So what does happen if we vote against this?
Well, I can't give the other side any legal advice, so I want to be careful when I don't tell them, okay? He could take an appeal within 30 days to the Court of Common Pleas in Montgomery County.
Okay. So I'm gonna vote yes.
Councilmember Cresser.
Opposed.
So if my
Vote,
count was correct, it's 3 in favor, 2 opposed.
and the minutes should reflect that. Who voted which way?
Yep. All right. So motion passes with a vote count of 3-2.
Right.
All right. Wow, that's a first.
That is a Borough Council usually agrees on everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Each member has their own right to make their own vote.
absolutely.
That's the way we gotta do,
Yep, yep. All right.
I'm thinking of our residents I have from the beginning for this.
As am I, which is why I think, any decision should be discussed openly. So I don't like surprises, so, I like to be on the same page with everything, so. If anybody does have any concerns, I wish they would, raise them before they vote, but yeah, I'll stand by how I voted.
Any additional comments?
And as I have said, if the plans agree with, if the plans are in conformity with our zoning and subdivision ordinances, the property owner has a right to use the property in that way. As you have a right to use your properties in that way. That's the way it is. I mean, it's a fundamental right. Otherwise, government deprives a person of property without due process. That's not allowed under the Constitution.
Well, and I voted no because I don't feel that we did follow that. Because we had to change the rules that we have to fit this in there.
We gave
And
variances.
granting variances.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
But
But under the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, just statewide law.
Yeah.
If you have zoning, you also have to have a zoning board that can give variances. That's,
Right.
so in that sense, the borough is following state law, had zoning, has a zoning board, and the zoning board granted the variances. So,
and at the end of the day, the variances were in the betterment for the property, right? So they were,
the zoning board felt that the property had some unusual characteristics that justified the grant of variances. And this particular property, as we have discussed, is part of the village commercial district, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Core commercial.
Core commercial, I'm sorry, core commercial. It's part of core commercial, which has different uses than the other people who live on that street. And so depends on how you look at this, but some people thought that the permissible zoning would have permitted apartments above stores, which are permitted in core commercial.
They are.
And some people would have thought that that was a worse, actually, the zoning board presumably thought that that was a worse use than what they granted variances for. So,
It's just a shame for the residents. But we tried.
But if somebody fulfills all the requirements, you really can't stop them, can you?
right,
Correct.
correct,
And there is a process,
correct. And no one took an appeal of the zoning board's decision either. Any of the residents could have taken an appeal and nobody did. And the borough, I guess, could have appealed it, but we weren't even a party to the application. We didn't go, we weren't there. Because we're the borough, we probably could have appealed it, but nobody did. We didn't do that within the 30 days. So they are entitled to the variances because they got them. And that decision stands, so.
Did the residents know that they could appeal to the zoning board, to the zoning board's
Yeah.
decision?
Did they
Did they know that?
Jamie was at the hearing, I wasn't.
I was at the hearing and the zoning hearing board solicitor did say and ask residents when they came up. I don't want to say if Ms. McCarthy was a record. I don't know if Mr. Renner was or was not. But they were present, that if you came and you spoke, you have the right to appeal. That was described by Eric Fry, the zoning hearing board solicitor. I will be honest that government language can be very confusing if you don't live and breathe government language. So I'm not saying that they understood when they left, but it was spoken on record at the hearing.
So that action item is finished. We are where we are.
yep. All right. Let's go to item B, motion to consider the COR request number 1 for test digs for the utility replacement project for the total cost of $6,230.70. For increased contract total of $3,181,495.45. Can I get a motion for the COR?
So moved.
Second.
I get a motion from Councilman Fagan, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item C, motion to consider payment request number 4 for the utility replacement project to KCB Construction Incorporated in the amount of $225,207.90.
Motion.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilman Burns, a second from Councilman Fagan, or excuse me, Councilman Gerard. Any questions?
I have a question. The item at the bottom of the, first page, the PMEA, it's for, membership use. What is Pennsylvania Municipal Employees?
Pennsylvania Municipal Electric Association. So there are annual dues that we pay to be a member of PMEA.
Yeah, I thought it was employee.
Yeah. I think it also stands for like Pennsylvania Music, something. So if you look it up, it's something that, we should get a new acronym. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I thought 7,000 for dues was a bit high, but now I understand.
Yeah, it's $5 a meter is how it's figured out. So it's based on your meter, like, so essentially your population. So it's $5 a meter. It's how the dues are figured out.
Thank you.
So we're going to go back to item C, the motion to consider the payment request before we get on to the payment of bills. So I got a motion from Councilman Burns, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item 8, payment, motion to consider payment of bills. Are there any more questions on the bills before we make that motion?
The AMP bill is not on this month's bill list. It came in and so it was 202,000 or 205,000 for this past month. So you will see a double AMP electric bill possibly in March. It came in after the bill list was sent out.
All right, any more questions? If not, can I get a motion to approve payment of the bills?
So moved.
Second.
I can motion from Councilman Gerard, a second from Councilman Burns. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. So we are not scheduled for an executive session tonight, so can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilman Cresser, a second from Councilman Fagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none, so we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.